about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I don't drink a lot of soda, but if we do, I notice my husband likes to reach for the real sugar Pepsi. Pepsi has, I guess, either brought back real sugar. And whenever I took the Pepsi Coke challenge, I always preferred Coke. So I've always preferred the taste of Coke over Pepsi. But I can't stand high fructose corn syrup. And that's one of the reasons why I don't drink soda. I mean, I might drink a little diet soda every now and then, but I really try to avoid diet soda. But I noticed the sugar, real sugar, Pepsi, tastes better than the sugar substitute Pepsi. And a question everybody's been having is, why isn't Coca-Cola doing the same? Well, apparently Coca-Cola said they are going to use real cane sugar. I don't know if you've ever drunk Mexico, Coke from Mexico. Mexican Coca-Cola tastes amazing. It's in a bottle, and it's used, from what I understand, they use real sugar. So we're being told that President Donald Trump is working with Coca-Cola to bring back real cane sugar to Coca-Cola. And the use of high fructose corn syrup, I think, has been devastating. I think it has promoted diabetes. Not only can regular sugar do as well, but high fructose corn syrup, it's sticky. I think it's causing arteriosclerosis. I'm not a fan. And so to be continuing to be using this when MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, I'm a huge fan of MAHA. And it finally addressing things that should have always been addressed is, this is definitely highly welcomed. I believe Coca-Cola sent a statement to People magazine saying, "We appreciate President Trump's enthusiasm for our iconic Coca-Cola brand. More details on new innovative offerings within our Coca-Cola product range will be shared soon." Now, in April, the CEO, James Quincy, had told investors that the company is going to make progress on sugar reduction in their beverages. And they said Coca-Cola has done this by changing recipes as well as by using our global marketing resources and distribution network to boost awareness and interest of our ever-expanding portfolio. But they say the high fructose corn syrup in their Coca-Cola really varies by geography. As I said, I believe Coca-Cola in Mexico use sugar. Australia uses cane sugar. But in the U.S., we're having the high fructose corn syrup. Why? It doesn't make sense. Now, the company began using high fructose corn syrup in the 80s because sugar prices were going up. And so, when you look at this, why? I am so sick of us imbibing and ingesting foods that are going to be the death of us. When you look at children, a third of them pre-diabetic. What do you think is causing that? Their lack of inactivity, their poor food choices, not eating enough fruits and vegetables. And I'm sorry, I think it's high fructose corn syrup. Now, the Coca-Cola original recipe, I believe, came from, it was a pharmacist that I think was working on that. And I believe there was it was John Pemberton. And we might not necessarily have the official ingredient list. The Coca-Cola factory in Atlanta, a must-see. You need to go and see the Coca-Cola factory or the Coca-Cola museum. And it's interesting because they take you on a tour and there's this big safe. And they say that the recipe is in that safe. And we're like, ooh, ah. But what's really cool is at the end of the tour, there's this big room where there's Coca-Cola from all over the world. So you get to taste Japanese Coca-Cola. You get to taste Zimbabwe Coca-Cola. You could taste the Coca-Cola that they serve all over. It's really interesting. Israeli Coca-Cola. But they say even though John Pemberton came up with the original Coca-Cola recipe, some of the early versions, like in the early 1900s or previous, were cocoa leaf extract. And cocoa leaf might have included cocaine. Now, modern Coca-Cola uses decocainized coca leaf extract. But that rumor that there was cocaine in Coca-Cola, not wrong. Cola nut extract provides the caffeine. Of course, sugar, carbonated water. Although, for those of us that order sugar, we have the high fructose corn syrup. Then there's the different flavorings to give it its taste. Orange, lemon, nutmeg, coriander, neroli, and cinnamon, according to The Guardian. Citric acid, vanilla extract, lime juice, phosphoric acid, and caramel coloring are also present. And it's amazing that rather than water or milk or something more pure, we will put something like that into our bodies. But I got to tell you, I have used Coca-Cola therapeutically for whenever my children or I had some nausea. A decarbonated Coca-Cola, even the carbonated part, would somehow settle our stomach. And we would use Coca-Cola for a variety of ailments. People would use that for a sore throat. They'd use it to stop a chronic cough. And I'm not a fan of people drinking soda pop for that. But it's interesting how we will take these medications and they'll say, well, it's not working. And I'm like, take a sip of Coca-Cola. Or take a sip of schnapps. Matzo ball soup is great also. Or chicken soup. They have all the vegetables in them and the chunks of chicken with the bone. And don't swallow the bone. But these are things that produce anti-inflammatories, etc. So there's a lot of things we have that are non-technically pharmaceutical that we've been able to use medicinally. But my concern with the sugar and all the other components into soda pop, like Coca-Cola, we don't really recommend that medicinally anymore. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So we've been talking about the stock market and crypto and how we don't necessarily, I don't even really carry money anymore. Everything is digital. I don't own gold, bars of gold. I don't have jewelry where I could smelt the silver or the gold. Most of my jewelry is costume jewelry. We just never had the money to invest or buy. Trying to buy any sort of gold, yeah, I guess you could buy it on paper. But I get really nervous about everything being digital. I'm not really good with that. I do support the idea that the mint is going to stop printing pennies. If it costs 3 cents for every penny in circulation, that's ridiculous. No. That we're taking a loss. And so, having fewer pennies in circulation, I understand some people think the world is going to come to an end. But I do, though, like the idea of still having some sort of money you could hold. Because when war breaks out, and it will, again, in our lifetime, it's going to be the cyber war that's going to level us first. And when we can't access money, when we can't access whatever is digitally, our nest egg, we're in trouble. Now, my husband and I aren't necessarily preppers, but hubby is really, really good, and so am I, at making sure we have things that are tangible, such as we have camping gear, we have fishing gear, ammunition, some extra, Tylenol, extra Motrin, just in case. Because when the poop hits the fan, there's going to be shortages of things. And when you've lived as long as I have, being middle-aged, you look at things as what we have now, we might not have later. Well, an interesting article from Survival World says 21 items that may be worth their weight in gold when society collapses. And there could be a natural disaster, an economic meltdown, civil unrest, and your Bitcoin might not save you. So one thing they suggest, or they talk about, are seeds. Seeds, where you could grow food. They say seeds may become the real currency of tomorrow. The value of seeds will skyrocket. Now, for those of you eating a poppy seed bagel or a sesame seed bagel right now, you might want to pick those suckers off and put them in a bag and then stick them in a safe. But they say the value of seeds will skyrocket if food runs out. They're light, they're portable, can yield a harvest. Know how to garden. Remember I said in schools, the afternoon part of school should be all the practical teaching. Kids need to know how to garden and farm and harvest. Kids don't know how to do that. And it's not just sticking the seed in the dirt and watering it. You got to protect it from insects. There's a process. But that's interesting. That's one thing I don't have. I have not bought seeds. I think that's pretty smart. First aid supplies. This is something I keep recommending. You need to have your own first aid kit, and a decent one, with gauze, gloves, tourniquets, antiseptic, suture kit if needed. A first aid kit, and a good one, is important. I know there's these doctors that are advertising where you could buy antibiotics. I know a lot of doctors are looking at that ad going, what are you doing? People might misdiagnose themselves. But I understand why people want a prep kit with antibiotics at the house. So I get that. Alcohol. Bottles of alcohol, not just for fun. I mean, if the world is coming to an end, or we're having some major issues, or it's The Walking Dead, I understand why people might want to do a couple shots. But what I like about alcohol is when you're on a plane, and if you need to perform, if you need to decompress a tension pneumothorax, and you don't have a lot of tools, the alcohol sterilizes. And so I like alcohol being around as a sterilizer because it does help with some sanitation. So I think that's pretty good. Plus, the bottle could be used as a weapon. Ammunition, when you need to have a weapon. When things go bad, as we saw with Walking Dead, sometimes it was the humans that were more dangerous than the zombies. And we have seen humans and their horrible attitudes towards people and how disgustingly selfish and inhumane people can become. And so I fear other humans if they decide they're going to take advantage or try to, I'm going to share whatever I can if somebody needs to eat. But, people will rob you blind. It would be mass chaos. And you do need to protect yourself. Absolutely. If somebody tries to steal my dog, whoa. Batteries. I love batteries. We have extra batteries. You never know if your ham radio or your AM FM radio, things that I understand everybody plugs in. I can't stand. I get something that has to be plugged into a computer. No, I don't want to buy anything that you have to plug into a computer. I want to buy something where I could put a battery in it so that I could take it with me camping. I could take it with me on the road. Flashlights. These are things you should have, and they should not be connected to Wi-Fi or a computer. Baby supplies are going to be very valuable. People still have babies. Even when there's disasters, people still get pregnant. And so when society collapses, what do you have for baby care? Now, I'm not saying that you should buy up a whole bunch of baby products and then try to sell them if the next earthquake hits, but it is something to think about, especially if you have a family that may be having a baby. Prescription medications, this is something where patients will always ask me, how do I get extra? In case there's something that happens to a pharmacy, how do I get extra? And I really feel bad for diabetics who need insulin or people who need their heart medication. That's scary. And the fact that most of our medications come from China, that's even scarier. So you cannot store enough of these medications or take them with you for life. But understand that you might have to have an extra month or extra couple months supply if anything does happen, and talk to your doctor about if that's something that's plausible. Car parts and fluid, they recommend. This is coming from Survival World. You need to be mobile. And this is why I have to have a non-electric vehicle. Even if we do go electric, one of our cars has to be non-electric. Because if the poop hits the fan and there's no power, I need to be able to drive. Now, you might not be able to access a gas station, but you might be able to get fuel and then be able to fuel up your car. Make sure you have parts, etc. Take care of it. How many of us have fire starting tools and things to help us in terms of, cooking our own meals and pots and pans? See, for those of us that camp, we're good. We already have all that. But for those of you that never go camping, you might want to make sure you have a go-to bag that has all that, because you're going to want to be able to start a fire. You're going to want to know what you could use for firewood. These are things you need. As I said, flashlight, lanterns, light is power. Headlamps, these are things that are essential. Tools. Any of our survival kits should have tools. Wrenches, screwdrivers, shovels, axes, hammers, pliers. These are things that you need. Plus, they can also be used as weapons. But make sure you have tools. I remember my father always having a tool belt, or there'll be a tool drawer. In my house, they're all over the place. We got a screwdriver in one room. We got a hammer in another. And I always have to ask my husband, where's the tools? I hate that. I should know where the tools are and have them, but I don't. And then, of course, food. You need to, I think we all should have a little, shall we say, silo of dried foods, canned foods, things that are non-perishable that we could grab and use and live off of if we need to. Tuna, Spam, things like that. Not that Spam is the most healthy. And make sure you have something for your pets. Do not forget your pets. Another thing that I also recommend are things that filter out water. Right? You might not be able to carry bottles and bottles and jugs of water. So you need to have something where if you do find a water source, you could then filter it yourself. Don't blow off over-the-counter medications. You might need antihistamines. You might need calamine, things like that. Tape, that's huge. Personal hygiene items. You got to stay healthy, so stay clean. Books and manuals you might need. So, and of course, your camping gear. 1-877 Daliah. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I don't know why things aren't simpler. You know, the concept of our immigration has been one that was established a while back and was pretty bipartisan, meaning if you wanted to come to this country and apply, we'll have applications. We'll have a means for you to come here. You are going to have somebody sponsor you, have a job, not be ill, but we will grant you a path to come to America, become a citizen. My father and grandparents did, learned the language, took the classes, passed the test to become citizens, and then they had to pay taxes. And I think bipartisanly, it has been a no-brainer that this country loves immigrants and loves having an ability for people to legally use a legal path to be here. It should also be said that bipartisanly, we should all agree that if somebody bypasses the legal path, takes cuts in front of somebody trying to go the regular path, sneaks in, is a criminal, hurts others, takes benefits away from people doing it legally, or people who aren't immigrants but are citizens of America, that's not good and shouldn't be tolerated. That's common sense. But the situation we're in has become chaotic, not because of Trump, but because the previous administration allowed there to be chaos. While you had people in line doing it the right way and the legal way, Biden allowed opportunities for people to storm the border. So now the people standing in line going, well, wait a second. Do we just leave the line and storm the border, or we do this right? So we need to regroup, reset, go, no. We have a legal pathway, just like other countries do. And if you don't do the legal pathway, or if you were illegal in any of your dealings or any of your misrepresentation, like if you look at the rules in China, if you at all misrepresent or cross illegally, you're out. We're going to, as other countries, deport you. Well, the left has made it a whole different campaign saying that the right is anti-immigrant. But if you ask immigrants, legal ones, they want this done right. I don't know if you've ever been stuck in traffic and then you see somebody four-wheel drive or off-road going on the shoulder of the desert. And then they just pass everybody by driving on the desert. And then you start to see some other cars do that. And then you sit there and think to yourself, should I stay here in gridlock or should I go and cheat the system? And will I get caught? Now, some people will take that chance. And by the way, if your life is ever in danger and you're stuck, on a desert highway and you need to get that, you do what you have to get to safety. Now, who cares about the traffic ticket? But if you're doing that just because you want to bypass traffic and cheat the system, there should be consequences, because then otherwise nobody will stay on the highway. Everybody will just drive on the desert. That's why we have rules in place. What if you're late for work and there's a four-way stoplight and the light is red and you see somebody run the red light saying, I could get to work sooner? Is that safe? Is that fair? You're supposed to wait for the traffic light. So we have all these other rules. And if you violate the rule, you get a ticket. If you violate it multiple times, you might lose your license. So if we have all these other rules, you have to wait in line at a McDonald's. Why, when it comes to immigration, is there debate? And so it's interesting. One of the Democratic congresspeople said the Democrats are too afraid of offending immigrants. Elisa Slotkin said that her party needs to return to the relevance in the wake of their defeat in 2024, and that they are so scared of causing offense on the issue of immigration. But what they don't understand is, I'm surrounded by people who are immigrants. I have patients from Mexico, Costa Rica, Italy, Iran. I mean, there's people from all over. And the one thing they all say is it's not fair that I did it legal and other people doing it illegally took advantage. So if you're afraid of offending immigrants, why are you letting those who didn't follow the proper protocol, giving them a pass? Now, this is the problem the Democrats had with student loan debt. They thought saying we're going to write off student loan debt would please so many people, millions of students, that would be a huge win for them. What they didn't realize is there were millions of people going, whoa, wait, I paid my student loan. Are you kidding me? And it was not popular in the Democratic Party. Because if a Democrat honored their loan verbiage and legal wording and commitments, and they find out that somebody didn't have to, just by kicking the can down the road and procrastinating, and oh wow, now you waited long enough to not have to pay, uncool. So if you're worried about offending immigrants, or do you really know who you're talking to? And boy, is that discriminatory to assume your immigrant population and supporters are illegal. Many of your immigrants are here legally. The last thing you want to do is stereotype your immigrant patients as being illegal or your immigrant voters as being illegal. And so you have Democrats kind of fighting and trying to figure out where to go. And it really is simpler than this. But the problem is the last 4 years, they were hoping that flooding of the border would give them votes. We're going to let you in the border. We're not going to check ID. You could come in and vote, and then we'll always be in power. Well, not cool. And it's not cool to the people who did it right. Now, mind you, I want refugees and asylum seekers to be able to get here safely. But again, we have a legal pathway for that. You don't have to sneak across the border. We have legal pathways for that. It was harder under the Biden administration because there were so many people flooding the border. But it would have been nice for them to organize it better. It would have been nice for our border czar, Kamala Harris, to organize it. But no, it didn't happen. So Democrats have their work cut out for them, and I see the more they do this, the more they actually, insult the people that they think they're protecting. And to think that the average immigrant, legal immigrant, wants Tren de Aragua or MS-13 gang members not deported is pretty obtuse, pretty naive. Now, if you do have legal immigrants that think they are going to be deported, that's a misinformation issue. And I notice a lot of Democrats are spreading misinformation, scaring people that if you're here legally. But if somebody's here legally and they have their paperwork and they're on their path to citizenship, no, they will not be deported. 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of you asked, who is my favorite artist? Now, I hope you're not asking me about Picasso and all that, because I really don't know Rembrandt. I don't know who my favorite artist is, but in terms of music, favorite singers. My favorite singers are Mariah Carey, Christina Aguilera, Kelly Clarkson, Whitney Houston, Connie Francis. Connie Francis was one of my favorites. Boy, was she talented. And we found out that she just passed at the age of 87. She was hospitalized with quote-unquote extreme pain a couple weeks ago. And what was interesting about that is when I was in the 80s, when I was watching the Richie Valens movie, La Bamba, and I was asking my mom about Buddy Holly and Richie Valens and, people dying in a plane crash. And I was, I think I was singing a Connie Francis song. My mom had told me Connie Francis died in a plane crash. And I'm like, no. And so up until 2 weeks ago, I thought Connie Francis was killed in her prime in a plane crash, only to find out, no, she never did die. So I was really grateful. I would have tried to reach out to her and meet her. Connie Francis has been one of my favorites. Sadly, unfortunately, she's passed. It was confirmed yesterday on Facebook by her friend Ron Roberts. And, she had done, Who's Sorry Now, Crazy, Pretty Little Baby. Just her voice was absolutely incredible. So I'm sad to see her go. May she rest in peace. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. This was interesting. This caught my eye. I don't like cheaters. People who cheat on their spouses are idiots. And in this day and age, with all the tech, you'll get caught. But unfortunately, all I see is article after article of people cheating. There's been some cases where the lovers who the spouse is cheating with will kill the other spouse. I mean, it's very frightening if you're with somebody who cheats, because who knows what that other person will do to get your spouse. Well, a Coldplay concert was going on. I don't know if you've seen this footage. And Chris Martin, I guess, had the kiss cam go across the audience. And when the kiss cam in Gillette Stadium in Boston focused in on this pair of two people, you saw them look horrified. The woman immediately turned away from the camera, and the guy who was holding her fall down and cover his face. Well, people started to think, wait a second, were they cheating? And I saw on Twitter, he is a CEO of a very valuable company, and she allegedly was director of HR. And it's interesting because Chris Martin says, oh, look at these two. Oh, what? And then I guess he was shocked when he saw them dive behind the barrier and cover their faces and turn around. And so while the band was, doing the kiss cam, apparently they found a couple that was hanging out and then get caught. And so, the concept of cheating, maybe they were on parole and they were hiding but my guess is they did not want people seeing them together. So, of course, cheating. And what really frustrates me about something like this is if you don't want to be with your spouse, then end it with your spouse. But I think there's a lot of individuals who want the best of both worlds, where they want the kids, they want the family life, they want the appearance of being, a family man or family mom, and then they mess around, they screw around. And somebody who would cheat with a married person, again, piece of crap. Just complete pieces of... And when you see this, you look at the horror they have, and you look how happy they were. They're holding each other and hugging while they're at it. They look like they're happy. They look like they're in love. Then why aren't you two together? Why aren't... Then leave your spouses. Not that that's a honorable thing to do, but I think it's more dishonorable to be lying and cheating. And so, now, another issue could be that if a divorce could be so costly and it would cause them such financial ruin that they decide to take the risk and just cheat on the side. Well, trust me, if you get found out, and you will, there's CCTV, there's kiss cams, you're going to get it's going to be worse. The divorce will be worse. Rather than irreconcilable differences or we fell out of love, you get caught cheating, it's going to be a harder divorce. Now, this case was very scary. A UC Berkeley professor was killed, and they believe it was the boyfriend of the wife who did it. And the woman appeared to brag on Facebook that she had chosen a new, better dad for her kids before, allegedly, the boyfriend killed her ex-husband. Oh, they were already an ex. I'm sorry, but the ex-husband. But still, Nadia Mikeladaki, 43 years old, and her boyfriend, Christos Dunias, were arrested for the shooting murder of UC Berkeley professor Przemysław Jezorski in Greece. He was shot 5 times in broad daylight in Athens on July 4th near his ex-wife's house. He was visiting the country to visit his 2 children and attend a family custody hearing. Now, she tags her new boyfriend in this post, according to Daily Mail, saying, when you realize that you picked the best dad for your kids. By the way, that's a disgusting statement. Okay? I mean, the father of your children, mind you, if he beats them, abuses them, that's one thing. But you don't post that there's somebody else who's going to be a better dad to your children. Like, I don't know. But the alleged killer and her ex-husband had been going through a custody battle. Then he gets killed. Greek authorities said both she and her boyfriend planned the murder, and that Dunias was the one to pull the trigger while he arrived to pick up his children. That's horrible. Just horrible. And these poor kids. There were also 2 Albanians and 1 Bulgarian that were also arrested in the case. They were accused of providing the murder weapon and transporting the gunman to the site of the murder. Now, the wife denies any involvement, but Greek media reported that the boyfriend did confess to the murder and said his girlfriend was a mastermind. Apparently, she was married to her ex in 2014, filed for divorce in 2021. They founded a rental party management company, were battling over finances, and here we are in 2025, and they're still battling over custody. And, we wonder why young kids don't want to get married. Yeah, it's these divorces are so ugly, and it's so scary on what happens through the process and through the battle, with some of them getting murdered, that when I talk to younger people, they're like, I don't know if I could be with anybody my whole life, let alone trust that they won't want to leave me later. And it's the divorce that's scaring younger people into even making a commitment. And I can't partially blame them. These stories, they're few and far between, but they're scary. Yet the story of a divorce getting ugly is all too common. And I see this time and time again. And so my recommendation to any of you is, if you are in a relationship that you think is not strong and you think there's any sort of distrust, you think your partner could hurt you, you think your partner could cheat, get to counseling. Counseling can tease that out, can get the truth, allow you to say, look, it's okay. Are you with somebody else? We could end this easily, very nicely, amicably. But these are horror stories. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.